Welcome back, class, to another episode of Trump Whisperer, translating stupid. Today we head back to planet Cray Cray, to a deceptively beautiful commonwealth they like to call Celotopia. The inhabitants belong to a secret society. It's called the League of Extraordinary Sellouts. The leader would love to speak to you.
And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America.
Hold your horses. You mean to tell me that me and Byron Donalds kinda, sorta, somewhat agree? That's disgusting. What I mean by that is, I do like the fact that the husband and wife are in the home and they bring together a nice family. Now, that doesn't mean that the family's gonna have generational wealth, but it is a good, solid foundation. But the reality is, there are single mothers that created solid foundations too. And single fathers, don't wanna leave them out. You yourself came from a single mother home, correct? You didn't have a father. You may have known him, and it seems like you guys have a relationship to some degree, but you wanted to do better, therefore you're staying in the home. But that doesn't mean your kids are going to turn out better or generationally wealthy just because you're at the crib. It also doesn't mean that your child's going to turn out to be the greatest. Look at Donald Trump. His mom and dad were in the home and stayed until basically they both died. Look what turned out with him. He's a rapist, a serial sexual assaulter, he's a fraudster, a grifter, a liar, convicted felon, all of that with both people in the house. Doesn't that destroy your theory that just because there's two people in the home, somehow your life is going to be better? Yeah, I think you might want to stick to some new ideas as opposed to that old shit. One person making all decisions, preferably on your side, you want the male to make the decisions. I want you women to understand, Republicans are trying to move you guys out of power positions. These ideas, they sound grandiose. They sound wonderful. You would love to have a husband and wife team working together for a solid foundation in a family. But they don't want that. They want you back in the house so they can take you out the boardroom. Don't believe me? Keep listening, ladies. Keep listening. While they're out here trying to make you feel all warm and fuzzy and secure, that heat you feeling is not love. It's them burning your rights down.
I will defend life before suffrage, because a vote used to represent the family. When we were a culture that really valued family and really understood the natural order that God intended, man serving God, woman following man who serves God, man and woman developing and nurturing children, you only needed one vote per household, because that vote was about the entire family, as they have destroyed our family structure and made this all an individual pursuit. Now everybody has to have a vote, and everybody has an agenda that a lot of times has nothing to do with family.
This is what I'm talking about, ladies. The Republicans are playing with fire, and the only one getting burned is you. Don't fall for the okie doke, because if you do, it's on you. Just you. You've been warned.
You see, during Jim Crow...
Holy dipshittery. Did this Nimrodian just use Jim Crow as a fond era to look back on? This sellout has reached a cataclysmic level of selloutery. I don't think he can come back from this shit. Let's see.
During Jim Crow, the black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively.
Now, Byron Donalds, do us a favor. Explain to us why black people back in that era voted more conservatively. Yeah, that would be because back then, the Republicans were fighting for black people's freedoms. It was just when we ended the Civil War, correct? The Reconstruction era started. But here's the problem with your scenario. Republicans left us, meaning the military left the South, allowing the Southern Democrats to start back over again, terrorizing black folks. The Republicans were literally leaving us to fend for ourselves after we fought and died for the economic reasons of civil war. And their promise to us of freedom was all they gave us when they were giving us more at one point, and then they left us. Yeah, We might have been voting conservatively, but the Jim Crow era, in 13 states, we were not voting at all. You would have been better off saying we voted more conservatively during the Reconstruction era. That was before the Republicans left us to die and be killed and raped and beaten and treated like absolute shit by the Southern Democrats. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, I understand that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party were both shit in history. But I know the truth of where we stand today with the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. They're not the same, are they, Byron Donalds? Carry on.
And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries as Wesley's contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, now wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
I'm not quite sure if you guys understand what Byron Donalds was trying to say. Now I'm gonna need you to put on your Imaginary Stoopid Goggles as we travel through this world of dipshittery. And trust me, you don't want to be hit with this shit. Let me translate for you. He just said right there that the reason why black people have bad situations in their family is because of the created system of welfare, like it was specifically built to destroy black families. No, it was not. Welfare was created for white people. It was called the Social Security Act of 1935. Black people couldn't get on it until 1968 or something like that. So for 30 years, white people were receiving welfare and black people couldn't take part in it. Was it destroying the white family? Fuck no, it wasn't. It was helping them build wealth while black people were struggling. And then when black people were allowed to get on it, all of a sudden they had rules for us. Oh, you can only have it if your husband's not living with you and all this other shit. While when they had it, whole families were living together, creating wealth, buying properties. Then all of a sudden, here it goes. Black people get involved. People of color get involved with this Social Security Act. It became welfare. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you're not looking at this strategy here, it is give white people shit for free, label it something good. And the moment black people or people of color are allowed to take part, call this shit bad so you can end it. And then start something up for white people again and give them money for decades to come. And then once black people or people of color figure out this thing is available, get rid of it and say it's a pull yourself by your bootstraps type of thing. You guys don't need any money. You're black. You should be able to make it yourself. That's exactly what they do to us. And this Byron Donalds is sitting here talking about this era because it is a talking point. The talking point is black people are on welfare. The fathers are not in their homes because of Democrats. That's it. Now, if you do your research, you'll realize there were some strategies used to get the father out of the family, to destroy the black father. But that was also in the Jim Crow era. It was also a situation in the Reconstruction era. But in the Reconstruction era, which he could have used, the Republicans were a big part of that, which was the exact same things that Democrats are doing today, have been doing for the last 60, 70 years. It wasn't until around the 60s that the civil rights movement started to happen. And at that point, Democrats were pushing that. Now, one would ask themselves, why are the Democrats helping with the civil rights movement? Aren't they the ones who were the original slave owners in America, that were the orchestrators of Jim Crow? Yeah, the Southern Democrats were. One would wonder. You would think that'd be the Republicans. It wasn't. Why wasn't it? Because the Republicans sold black people out and absorbed the racist Democrats into their party. By that time, the Republicans and the Southern Democrats were one. So you got to go back to the Civil War, the states' rights to own slaves. Remember, the South lost to the North with the aid of black people fighting for their freedoms. You remember Frederick Douglass and his crew alongside President Abraham Lincoln, right? We won the South. Now, we were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule, but he was assassinated and they reneged on that. Then the Reconstruction era started. That was right after the Civil War. See, the military was brought to the South to make sure that they treated us humanely. And that lasted for a while until the Compromise of 1877. Now, what is that, Mr. Straight Facts? The Compromise of 1877 was pretty much like the battle between George Bush and Al Gore. But this time it's Samuel J. Tilden and Rutherford B. Hayes. Those two were battling out who was going to become the president, one being a Republican, that would be Rutherford B. Hayes, and the other one, Samuel J. Tilden, being a Democrat from the South. Now, they were fighting for this presidency, and Rutherford B. Hayes ended up winning only because he made a deal with the South and Samuel. And one of the things in that deal was to pull the military out of the South, allowing the Democrats to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do to the black people. That gave birth to Jim Crow. So you see, Jim Crow got its life by Rutherford B. Hayes selling out black folks who helped them win the Civil War to the enemy that fought to keep us enslaved. So the Republicans and Democrats both had blood on their hands, and the victim of it all were black people. So that would go on for almost 100 years, up until the 1960s, where the Republicans, I guess, got fed up with black folks being on their team, decided to go to the South, called the Southern Strategy, and started recruiting the Southern racists into their party by talking shit about black folks and saying they were no longer this party that wanted black people to have civil rights. They recruited a shit ton of them into the Republican Party.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all aren't quoting me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now. You're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing. And a hell of a lot more abstract than you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
That's why the Democrats are the ones who helped Martin Luther King and others win the civil rights movement in 1964, 1965, and so forth. See, black people make strategic moves. You guys never give us credit for the brilliance that we actually have. It's you guys who keep selling yourselves out and selling yourself short without thinking about what the party is doing for you. It's about your feelings. Black people, on the other hand, is strategic. It's about who's going to keep our stuff intact. We done fought too long and hard to be giving up what we fought and died for just for some fucking feelings, some fly-by-night bullshit. We're very strategic as a culture for our people. That, I can tell you, we're mostly unified around. But in this situation, you have Byron Donalds carrying the water for the racist Republicans to say Democrats are at fault for the destruction of the black family. And they share fault with Republicans. It's not one party, it's both. But you have to understand what the parties are there to offer you. Republicans have no offer for black folk. You'll notice the black people who are always talking about coming to the Republican Party, they're always chasing money, which means they're easily suckered because they have no strategy. The strategy is go wherever the money's at. But who goes wherever the money is at without a strategy? That would be called a prostitute. I am not ready to be pimped out by the Republicans. Democrats are strategic, meaning black Democrats. We listen to what these motherfuckers have to say about us and our community, and we say, fuck that. Donald Trump has said that we had shithole countries. Our people are from those countries. And you want to tell us that they're shithole countries. You talk about black people like a dog. You wanted to kill our own black children back in the day. Bring back the death penalty to murder some innocent black folks, and you expect the majority of black folks to be like okay with that shit? I don't see how Byron Donalds can overlook that. You know why he's overlooking it? Because it's a me thing for him, not a we thing. He doesn't see himself in the black community. He just sees himself to be a black man. If you saw yourself in the black community, you would look at black people like you look at yourself and say, how can I help this brother and this sister get where I am or further? But that's not your strategy. Your strategy is how can I get this brother or sister to give me all their money, to give me their faith, to get on my side, to propel my career. You don't think about what you can do for them. It's what they can do for you. And if you can brainwash them to get into your clique, more than happy to have your own clique of people that look at you as the Republican black messiah. He let me into this party. I am a sheep to him. Fuck that. If you aren't helping my people and only just want to help me, fuck you. That's the way I look at it. And that's what Byron Donalds does. He only wants you to help him. I don't hear any of them talking about what it is they're doing for the black community. None of them. Black Republicans have no plan for the black community. They literally tell you all this bullshit that it's not a structure of any kind. It's like, well, you just gotta pull yourself by your bootstraps. You can't be a victim, blah, 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 blah. These are just terms. What is actually the plan? I mean, I'll accept bullet points at this fucking moment. I'd rather have it really thought out, but you guys don't even have bullet points. All you have is talking points, and they have no teeth to them. And you want black people to give up their freedoms like white women did when they voted alongside their fucking husbands and brothers and sisters and shit, taking away the rights to their own vaginal areas without thinking it through. And you want black people to give up the rights to their fucking freedoms without thinking it through? Black people know our freedoms, and we know how important that shit is. And we ain't about to fuck it up. Come with a plan or shut the fuck up. This man literally just said, give up your rights and become a Republican because the family unit is important. And it was because of Republicans in the era of Jim Crow that you guys were a family. You were in a home together. The unit was powerful, powerfully weak. Because all a black man could do in the Jim Crow era was sacrifice his life before they took his kids or his wife. And to bring that up, Byron Donalds, to make your stupid ass point, tells me that you are a piece of shit human. There's no other explanation. You don't even toy with that era. That era should be to explain how horrific racist white people were and are. And we don't ever want to go back to that. That's why you don't hear Democrats talking about make America great again, because there's no time for black people in history that life is better than it is now. And none of us want to go back. Now I'm gonna need you to take off your imaginary stupid goggles before you shit yourself. Let's continue.